Hello everybody. Um, Welcome to my channel. This is Katherine D. Graham. I'm a best-selling fantasy author, and this is Sophie. She is my writing pal, #1 writing companion. And today we've got a live that's a little bit different, and it's a little low-key. So I'm going to be in my comfy recliner, no special setups. Just want to have an open live chat and just an open talk about taxes. And what better de-stressor to have than your best kitten writing companion with you. So Sophie is going to be joining me today on the live. So for those of you who don't know me, I have been a freelance editor now for a little while, and also work now as a full-time editor. But I'm also a fantasy writer, best-selling fantasy writer. And this year and last year were my first years filing taxes that had like royalties and stuff on them. So I want to just be candid and open with you. This live is going to be talking about my personal experiences filing taxes in the United States, income taxes. Last year, as a full-time editor and author, this is the live for people who are not registered businesses. They are not LLCs, but they are looking to put royalty income on their taxes, or looking for what it was like to try to put editing income on taxes. So yeah, I have one small disclaimer, and then we'll jump into whatever questions you have and just my personal feelings about going through that tax process. But I am not a legal advisor. That is part of why this journey has been as complicated as it has been the last couple years. So if you're looking for legal advice and legal assistance, or tax advice or tax assistance, go to a certified pro. The opinions that I state in this video are just my opinions. They are not sponsored by any company. They have not been reviewed by any company or any legal advisor, and they are not meant to be taken as legal or financial advice. They're just meant to be informative. Hey, here's what she went through. So with that, let's jump in. I know it's really late at night, but that's because my boys are in bed. It's a weekend, and I thought, you know what, let's talk about taxes late at night. So if you're watching the replay, thank you. Feel free to drop any comments you have after you watch the replay, and I will try to answer them if I can. So I am married. I have 2 children, and in the U.S. there are lots of filing statuses that you will need to know about to file your taxes, so definitely get with a tax pro about that. But we have been married, filing jointly for several years now, and we have been claiming our freelancing work on our taxes like we're required to by U.S. law for several years now. We actually paid in extra to the IRS every year before this year. This 2022 is our first year doing things a little different, because now I actually have my own business, which I'll talk about in a different video. If you have an LLC and you have a business, stay tuned, because in a couple weeks I'm going to talk about my feelings about doing taxes as a business. But honestly, my personal experience filing as an indie author and adding those royalties to my income tax and adding the editing income to my business tax was not that complicated before I filed the LLC. The LLC comes with perks, but it also comes with cons, and it comes with challenges. I wouldn't necessarily say that paying the taxes is a con, because it's, you know, a privilege to be able to work in the U.S. But I would say it's more challenging as an LLC. So when I filed as a independent, you know, just somebody who's doing it on the side, barely making anything, we're talking $20 or less worth of royalties that got claimed on my taxes last year. That income went under a special section marked rentals and royalties. I used a basically out-of-the-box online software to help me file my taxes last year for our family, and I did file them all myself. I've been filing them myself since we got married, so yeah, over 10 years now. So yeah, I had to fill in an extra box on rentals and royalties to get the royalty figures and not guess at it just in case I was ever to be audited, I did go to Amazon and download all my sales. I went to Barnes & Noble and downloaded all my sales, which last year I wasn't on Barnes & Noble by the time tax season came around, so I didn't really have any sales to report on Barnes & Noble or Google Play. But if I was still doing this without the LLC, I would have to gather up all those royalties. This year, the different companies, Amazon, Audible for the audiobook, and Barnes & Noble sent me a 1099-MISC miscellaneous, and it showed how much they paid me, and it gave me boxes, and when I was filling in taxes, there were boxes for me to put those figures into for the year. And then, of course, it took whatever I would have owed out of what the IRS owes me, or my deduction. It was negligible because my royalties were negligible last year. I did not have to pay sales tax last year, but this is going to vary drastically. Sales tax on my, income tax. Sales tax and income tax are two separate things in the U.S., and sales tax is going to vary by state. And I did file my state sales taxes all year long like I was supposed to, month to month to month. But that did not go on my income tax. But the income I received from the sales did go on my income tax. So there's just a lot of convoluted stuff to it. But I felt like even then, the out-of-the-box system for me filing for my family was very easy because I could just fill in the blocks where it wanted them for the royalty information. For the editing aspect, though, it gets a little trickier because my editing had been done in 2020 mostly through Fiverr and then some random side jobs that I got paid through PayPal. Some requirements in the U.S. are in place so that if you make over a certain amount, the person who hired you as a contractor has to issue you a Form 1099. I never made enough to be issued a 1099 in 2020 because I also was working a full-time day job. I transitioned from full-time day job for a corporation into full-time editing in 2021. So really the taxes that I'm filing right now are the first taxes with full-time editor income involved in them, but I had partial, very small amounts from Fiverr and other things the year before. Fiverr does not issue you 1099s below a certain threshold. I think that's changing in 2022, so I might be updating this video next year if I do, or if it does. But this year, last year when I filed without the LLC, they did not send me a 1099 for Fiverr. I had to go on and get the total of what I made. That's the total of what I made before the PayPal fees to get them into my bank and before Fiverr's fees, just to be safe. Again, that's just what I personally did. And put that into a box on my tax form called Income Not Reported Elsewhere. This is a much larger chunk for me because last year I had some other freelance side things I was doing too. So all of those things had to be tallied up and listed on the taxes. But yeah, that was the gist of filing taxes as an indie author and an editor for 2020, which got filed for during the 2021 calendar year. If you're watching this and you're outside the US, you're like, wait, what? No, you file before April 15th for the year before. So 2021's income is due in the US by April 15th, 2022, with some other deadlines that you also have to have as an LLC, which has been a huge learning curve for me. But yeah, it was very easy and straightforward. My personal, the things that I found most helpful, just personally, was keeping really good records. I have a separate PayPal account for my editing and writing expenses and editing and writing income, and that includes my merch income, my Shopify store income, and that is where I downloaded a transaction record to file my IRS taxes, and that was extremely, extremely helpful. I also keep a ledger, and that was very helpful of anybody who paid, and that included receipts that I sent out mostly via email. Hey, thank you for this payment. Here's your receipt. So that I have something in case the IRS ever calls me up and wants to know, hey, where'd you get this money? Do you have receipts for that? So yeah, it was just very helpful filing that way and having all of that paperwork lined up and knowing which thing should be attributed to me and which thing should be attributed to my husband, who does not edit, obviously, but had a little other freelance income of his own on the side. So yeah, like I said, I was working a day job last year, so the majority of my taxes last year being 2020, when I filed in 2021, the majority of my income that was filed on 2021's return for year 2020 was from W-2s, and I paid extra, and you can have extra withheld from your check, or you could back in 2020, and that's what I did. I had them hold an extra amount out every month that I estimated to be what I would owe at the end of the year. By the time all my miscellaneous things came out, and it ended up, not being so much that I ended up owing anything, and I'm very thankful for that. The closer I could get to breaking even, the better. It's like that sweet spot, finding how much to pay in. So the business has changed everything. It has changed everything. I opened my own publishing company last year, which has been exciting, but there's been a lot of hoops to go through, and I'll be posting a video similar to this about some of the differences. For those of you who are maybe thinking about going LLC, I'm not going to talk about specific companies that I used, but I will talk about just some of the key differences and things I wish I had done differently to make this LLC process as streamlined as my non-LLC taxes process was. So that will be coming up in a couple weeks. But I know this video is a little short. As I said, I just wanted this to be casual. I know it's really late at night. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions for me, please drop them in the chat. But that is the gist of filing taxes as an indie author and editor before you file yourself as an LLC. Thanks so much, everybody. Happy tax season. Bye.